probably quite a bit like a lot of you guys. Although I'm 31, I am a little bit crustier than you guys. And I'm a guy, so I guess there's that too. But I have been extraordinarily fortunate in so many aspects of my life. I've had amazing opportunities as well as a fantastic family and home life. So I'm definitely not talking to you like an ex-crack addict junkie who's lived on the streets and had it rough. Had a hard knock life, in the words of Jay-Z or something like that. I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone who might have been unlucky enough to have had that story, but that's not my story. I did start drinking in high school, like pretty much everyone I know that. And thus a new person was born to the world. He was nameless for the first few years until I went to UCT and started my undergraduate degree. Enter a Darnark from stage left into my life like a hurricane. That was the name my friends had for me when I was really drunk. Unless you're very clever and have worked it out already, a Darnark is Conradie spelled backwards. That's because my character when I was really drunk was so far removed from my usual sober self. He only really made appearances on special occasions or the odd random Friday night. And that guy, yeah, he's a dick, and has gotten me in some very tricky situations. Unlike me, sober Jim, who I have some insight into what I want and plan and hope. And all of those things, broadly speaking, I know for myself. I don't know that stuff way Darnark. I never got to speak with him one-on-one, pick his brain, find out what makes him tick. That would have been an interesting conversation. But from the chaos he left behind him, his life strategy must have run something along the lines of the highest level of YOLO that you can go. And maybe even YOPO, you only party once. A Darnark is the only person I know or have even heard of who has burned his face from the stomach acid and the vomit that he once passed out. But that was good. And highly confusing for me the next day and involved making up an elaborate story about hot coffee and an overly enthusiastic dog jumping up to greet me. Ridiculous, I know, but who would have believed the truth anyway? Oh yeah, that's just vomited on my face, just digesting my face overnight because I'm worth it. He once got me arrested for rolling a stone dustbin into the glass door of a sparse supermarket. Why the fuck would you do that? What are you doing? That would probably be the first question I would ask him in our sit-down chat. And he once picked a fight with a guy, as he was inclined to do from time to time. But despite what he might tell you, he's no mixed martial arts champion, and this guy smoked him. Consequently, smoked both of us. Thanks, Edgar. Thanks, Edgar. But having said that, I'm not trying to say that because I was really drunk and can't remember a lot of those things, that I'm therefore not responsible for those things, or that I'm proud of those things. I'm not proud of them, and of course I'm responsible for them. And I was the king of the LC, or the loser complex, as we used to call the regret and shame from behavior the previous night. I was never an alcoholic in terms of the overall quantity or frequency that I drank, but I did binge drink, and I used to get a lot of memory loss when I drank a lot. Most nights I was fine, but on the nights that I would go big, I seemed to be unable to stop myself once I reached a certain point. You could call that point the all-in point, or you could call it anything you like. I'm going to call it the all-in point. And beyond that point, even if I was so drunk that I was crawling, I'd be crawling to the bar. In May of my third year at varsity, a Darnark's luck eventually ran out. I went to a friend's 21st birthday tour on a party bus, and it was awesome. I drank a lot, because obviously it was a 21st and it was a party bus, and it was the last time we could go out before exams and study week and all that. And on our way back to the clubs on the buses afterwards, I really needed to pee, but there were no bathrooms on the bus. Oh no. I don't know what I was thinking. We were on Woolsack Drive by UCT there, headed down towards the traffic lights on Main Road. And I think I thought that I would jump off just before we stopped at the lights, pee, and then jump back on the bus and wait at the lights, or walk to the clubs. It was a simple plan. What could possibly go wrong? So I timed it. I timed it quite well. You should have seen me stumble. It was nuts. And as I looked up, there was another car coming at me in the other lane. So I did this ridiculous sideways drunken somersault, land on my back, poof, winded, up, can't breathe, struggling to breathe. So now I've got to pee. I'm like, this is crazy. So I'm trying to pee now. And then the lights have gone green. So I finish up, and I'm running after this bus. And I'm like, as it's accelerating, I'm like, guys. And they're all jamming on top, and they see me, and they're like, it's Jim. So they run to the back of the bus, they lean down, I'm sprinting, I jump, they catch me, and like climbed up the back, they pull me over, they're like, Jim, what are you doing, bud? You're crazy, son. Give me a cold beer. Yes, we went and had the most awesome thing. No, that's not what happened. In retrospect, I probably should have saved myself a whole lot of trouble and just peed myself. I did land on my feet. That's where that little fantasy I just told you, and what actually happens in the real world, this world, that we live in when you do this kind of stuff, when you're drunk, diverge. I fell to my right, I broke my right arm, hit my head hard, party over, completely. And to quote a much quoted movie scene, life is a game of bitches. Split second bad drunken decision, like that, and you'll never be the same. You have the rest of your life to put out the consequences. My family flew down to Cape Town the following morning, and I kind of begin to imagine how awful that night and the following weeks were for them. You guys wouldn't have heard of the Glasgow Coma Scale. It's used to assess levels of consciousness after brain injury and monitoring chronic patients in ICU. It consists of 3 categories: eye-opening verbal response and motor response. And the 3 categories, as well as their sum, are included. So the lowest possible score would be 3, which would be none for all categories, which is deep coma or death, and the highest is 15, which is what we'd all be now if the test on us. And a score under 9 indicates a severe brain injury. On admission to the hospital that night, my score was 3. And look, I'm not a doctor, but your chairs have scores of 3, so it's not a good thing. Yeah, as I said, my family flew down to Cape Town the following morning. The type of brain injury I'd suffered is called a diffuse axonal traumatic brain injury. It's fairly common in motor vehicle accidents, where there's an acceleration-deceleration injury of your head, where your head is moving very quickly and stopping suddenly. And basically, in layman's terms, what's happened is your brain is twisted on its stem. One of the reasons I'm here to talk to you guys is because most of the people who suffer these kinds of injuries just can't. I read a Medscape article online saying that 90% of the people who suffer a diffuse axonal TBI spend the rest of their lives in a vegetative state. I don't know if that's accurate, but I do know that outcomes for patients whose Glasgow coma scores of 5 or lower on admission to hospital are generally extremely poor. But it's not like the only outcomes these things are vegetative state will find. They actually say that if you've seen one head injury, then you've seen one head injury. And by that, they mean that outcomes can vary so greatly. It's very hard to make predictions about these sorts of outcomes. But generally speaking, the prospects of the patient having a positive outcome, the longer they spend unresponsive in a coma, get exponentially worse, and they get exponentially worse over a relatively short period of time. Unlike on TV and in the movies, people very seldom recover to their pre-injury level of functioning after severe head trauma. Rather than emphasizing complete recovery, treatment of these things aims to improve function, prevent further injury, and rehabilitate individuals and families physically and emotionally. Some of the other stats about these types of injuries: majority are males under the age of 30, and males are twice as likely to experience brain injury as females. Probably because we make better decisions when we're training. Do you guys want to know what it's like to be in a coma? It's amazing. You get into coma, they're like, welcome to coma. You walk into this room, you sit down, they massage you, you play TV games. No, it's not that. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine, I suppose. Maybe some people do see bright lights or have huge enlightening experiences, or have something in their unconscious experience, and maybe the experience was something like that, but to my memory, I spent 3.5 weeks in a coma, first week chemically induced, 2.5 weeks beyond that. I then did start responding, and the fact that I did start responding, given what my parents had been told by the neurosurgeon about my prospects, if I did not start responding the next day or so, I was so incredibly fortunate. But then again, by responding, it's nothing like the movies where they're like, what happened? And they're told, and they're like, okay, cool, good to go. So I don't remember that those 2 weeks I was responding in the ICU, and I had a tracheotomy in my neck so I couldn't speak. I then had a medical flight up to Joburg, to the Netcare Rehabilitation Hospital in Auckland Park. My first memories are very vague memories from that flight, where I spent the following 2 months undergoing intensive physiotherapy, occupational therapy, neuropsychology, and psychotherapy. Speech was never a problem for me once the tracheotomy had been removed, but it is for many brain injury patients. I couldn't walk for the first few weeks in the rehab, but again, I have been so incredibly fortunate in that I was only in a wheelchair for a few weeks, and the redonkulous confusion associated with a period called post-traumatic amnesia dissipated after a few weeks too. Ridiculous, crazy. I thought that you don't know if you're awake or asleep, you don't know if you're dreaming. I thought I was still at school, I thought I was hurt in a rugby game, and I thought I was still dating my ex-girlfriend. And those are by far the 3 least crazy things I thought. That fortunately dissipated after a few weeks. I was discharged from the hospital in September. I had a few months of outpatient physiotherapy after that, and was lucky enough to return to my studies at UCT in the following year. As I've said already, guys, a perpetual vegetative state is only one, although arguably the worst, of the probable outcomes after an injury like this. But try to think of yourselves and your lives, but with even relatively small changes to your character, guys. There's a massive gap between how you are now and a vegetative state. The big ones are obviously things like your mobility and your speech. There's the possible locked-in scenario if this happens to you, and that's when you're aware of what's happening around you and what has happened, but you are unable to respond with movement or speech. Can you even begin to wrap your head around what crap that would be? I can't. Cognitive function is also a big one. That includes your thinking, memory, speech, your ability to learn new information and reading comprehension. Memory is a massive one. If you can't put a timeline together or learn any new skills, then what sort of quality of life could you ever hope to have? But there are so many more intricacies to who you are, guys. The unique character traits and details that combine to make you, you. Think if you're more aggressive now, or more dogmatic, or not funny anymore, or have no or less understanding of social norms and cues and what is appropriate. To be honest, it's likely that your friend's going to drop you like you're hot. You can't change it and be different, or replicate how you were, as you would inevitably try to do. It's simply who you are now. And that's not saying you're bad mates if you lose contact, but they will move on with their lives and have careers and families of their own, and you are much more likely to struggle with loneliness for large parts, if not the remainder of your life. Your romantic life will also take a huge hit, because I'll tell you that something that nobody's looking for in a partner is brain damage. There is an unbelievably depressing permanence to these types of injuries, because there is no cure for brain injury, not yet at least, and because of that, they ruin lives. not just for the people who suffer them, but often for the families of those people who have inherited the burden of care for them. And if you have one, it will more likely to define the remainder of your life. Hospitals, loneliness, disability, the people you spend your time with, the way those people respond to you, the pity that those people feel for you, the pity that you feel for yourself, what you think about, the way that you think of yourself, who you are, everything. You might be thinking at this point, yeah, that would suck, but I can sort of handle my booze and it won't happen to me. You're right that it probably won't happen to you guys, but it can so easily happen to you. Trust me on that one. That's also what I thought. I might be a bit of a mare when I go big, but it seems to work itself out in the end. Despite my LCs, I have some funny stories from big nights. With this kind of thing though, you're going along and it's fine. You have maybe the odd speed wobble, odd work mare, and maybe if you're like me, you do check yourself, but because it worked out fine, you start to believe that things just work out fine. And then something like this happens and they just don't, and your life has fallen to pieces around you. And where do you go from there? I didn't drink any alcohol at all for 4.5 years after my accident happened. I then did start drinking again, because I've been told by a therapist that after a brain injury, you couldn't drink for 5 years because of the risk of inducing an epileptic seizure. But beyond that point, you can drink, but you'd likely need to be more careful. So after just under 5 years with no seizure, I then did start drinking again and told myself that it would be fine if I just did it in moderation. Thinking back on it now, deep down I knew it wasn't a good idea, but I was believing what I wanted to believe, and I tried to justify drinking in moderation most nights and trying to drink lots of water before I went to bed. And so I drank for the next year, and this is probably the part of the story that I am most ashamed of. I was fine 9 nights on the jaw out of bed, not 10 consecutive nights partying in a row. I'm not Charlie Sheen. But on the nights that I would go beyond that point, I still acted with no regard or idea of consequence. I was less aggressive, but no less likely to fall or hurt myself doing something stupid. And when I was sober, I knew with every fiber of my being that I needed to not get that drunk. And I tried as hard as I could to drum it into myself when I was sober. Like, how can you not get this? You, of all people, need to get this. You never get like that, ever. Get it. Got it, good. Then 9 nights, you keep it here, it's fine, it's chilled. And then, I don't know what happens on that other night. You get too excited. And next thing you're waking up super hungover, and you lost something, or hurt yourself, or done something. And you're like, how am I back here? I'm honestly going to have this conversation with myself again. At the start of the next year, I went and had a checkup with the physician and told him that I had been drinking. That doctor's appointment may well prove to have saved my life in the long run. It has definitely saved the quality of my life and helped me to find peace within myself. He told me that that was an incredibly bad idea for me, and that ethanol alcohol is a cumulative toxin. So it doesn't matter how you drink it, it does cause brain damage, especially if your brain is taking one big hit like mine has. And so I have not drunk alcohol since that day, and I couldn't be happier about that decision for me. I can't drink, but I can walk, talk, run, laugh with my friends and family, as well as do all the other stuff that adds real value to your life. It's mostly just perspective that makes this an easy choice for me, as well as benefits like no hangovers or mornings when I feel regretsy about what I may have said and done, but can't remember doing the same the night before, and the shame from feeling that how could you be so lucky and then take that so for granted by drinking. That's a shitty way to feel about yourself, trust me. And who needs that noise? Not I. There are remnants of my accident that are likely to always be with me. When I run, it looks fairly odd and uncomfortable. And my navigational abilities are very good. My treasure hunting career at Indiana Jones was over before it could begin. C'est la vie. Probably going to be a douchebag in one of those hats anyway. Another difference is the number of occasions that I need to urinate. So you all could make it all good. Since the accident, I probably pee about 3 times as often as anyone I know, but who's counting? Me. Ironic that I was trying to avoid that feeling that got me into this mess in the first place. But such is life, I guess. I don't know if you remember that scene in The Bourne Identity where Jason Bourne is in a cafe with his soon-to-be girlfriend, and he says, how can he not know who he is, but he knows where the exits are, and he knows where the most likely place to find a gun would be, and he knows for how long he can run flat out at this altitude before his hands start shaking. Unfortunately, the accident's given me not even one of the numerous hardcore skills of Jason Bourne. That would be pretty cool, actually. But I am like a Jason Bourne of finding toilets. It's a special kind of superpower. Those are the 3 most blatant changes, but these are the equivalent uptown problems of brain injuries. And the line between physical change and change from the experience has been very blurred at times since then. That's something to wrap your head around, because the experience alone will change you. So how much of that change is from the experience, and how much is from physical changes caused by damage to your brain? Because one you could do something about, but the other you just couldn't. And you could, and for a time I did, blame nearly all of my problems on it. And that's rubbish. Much less these days, but it's been a process coming to terms with it, and at times I thought that the hardest part of the whole thing has been letting go of it. But I've realized that change on its own isn't a bad thing, even if it is completely unplanned and seemingly awful at first glance. This experience is not going to define me, simply because that's how lucky I've been. What's done is done. There's no changing that now. But I'm fine. If the worst I've come away with after the most dramatic mistake I've ever made is a gammy left leg, a crappy sense of navigation, and a bladder the size of a toddler's, then I really have nothing to complain about. Regret is useless. What counts is now, this, here, what I do now. And for my part, I've hopefully done most of what I could do, and all of what I've needed to. The accident is over for me, and I've got so much to live for, and I'm trying to do all that I can. 1 degree, 1 postgraduate diploma, 7 years of work, 8 marathons, 2 ultramarathons, 1 ultramarathon, 2 Ironman, 1 finished Ironman. But much, much more importantly, many, many fantastic experiences and time spent with my family and friends and countrymen. But there's still so much that I can and must do. I'm a great believer that at the end of my life, it's going to be the things that I didn't do that I will regret more than things that I did do. But that would only hold true. I don't know if it's possible to live a life free from regret in all forms and all stages. But I think you can avoid meaningful regret. But that would only hold true had you not made a horrific mistake like killed someone in a drunk driving accident, or drunken rage, or ended your life in a stupor of alcohol and injury-induced brain damage, or ruined your relationships with your family and friends, or whatever, guys. The list goes on. Shit happens, especially so for people who have drinking problems. And if you have a serious injury like this, chances are that you won't get the opportunity to experience much in the remainder of your life anyway. So that kind of nips any YOLO regret you'd have in the bud from not taking any of all of your partying opportunities, because you'd have no more opportunities at all. I'm not judging drinking and partying, guys. I've done those things and I get it. I absolutely understand the attraction to having a crazy party with your mates. It can be awesome. So I'm not coming at you like some self-righteous wanker who has all the answers, or like the fun piece who's trying to stop everyone from drinking because he can't and misery loves company. For me, drinking has to be off the table completely. If I can drink, but it's probably not a good idea, then I do drink, and shit happens. But if I know that I can't, then I don't. And it's been a much simpler undertaking being in that light. And I've learned how to go out sober, which is a hugely valuable skill to learn, especially and obviously if you can't drink for medical reasons and still want to head out for the outdoor with mates and enjoy it. But maybe if I had developed that skill earlier on, when I was your age, I would have been less likely to have made this mistake. If you can do that, and I guarantee you can do that, if I've learned to do that, anyone can learn to do that. And if you can do that, then you don't need to have a drink, or more importantly, a huge number of drinks, to loosen up and have a good time, or if you like I was, if you think it would be a good time, or get the confidence to talk to new people, girls, guys, whatever. And I know all too well what it is to acknowledge something sober that completely flies out of your head when you're pissed. And I guess in most cases life is a little more complicated than making commitments, and that's that forever. Mistakes are inevitable. God knows I've made plenty, before and since the accident. All that I'm saying, guys, is be careful, or be more careful. At least, at the very least, be smarter about this than I was, and many other people are. You've got so much to live for, guys. It might not feel like it, but your lives have almost only just begun. Like I said, I definitely don't have all the answers, but I do know this. There's a big world out there, and it's awesome. But it's not fair, and it's not easy, and at times it can be ruthless, and nothing costs nothing. The last thing that anybody needs is to make the whole journey a whole lot harder than parts of it are going to be anyway. But if you keep your head up and you keep moving forward despite what it throws at you, there's also so much great stuff waiting for you, guys. Believe that. Amazing experiences and love and achievements and purpose and friends and family and happiness. Great things. This might sound like it comes from page 1 of the Book of Obvious. Do you guys have the Book of Obvious? You should probably get it sometime. I don't know where. The only thing that matters in the end is what you do, guys. What was my intention that night? Was it to jump off a moving bus? How could I argue in that moment that it wasn't? Was it to put myself into a coma? Of course it wasn't. Does that matter? You've jumped off a moving bus, or whatever dumbass action, and you're pissed, and now you're in a coma, or whatever awful consequence. And whether you will ever be able to have a life that even vaguely begins to resemble the one that you were headed toward living before this happened is terrifyingly unlikely. Those are the facts, and the rest is just noise. Of course it was stupid, of course it could be avoided, it turned out differently. If it happens, none of that will matter. But if it happens, this will more likely be the only thing that ends up mattering in your life. Why not do the most you reasonably can to ensure that it doesn't? Why not do the most you possibly can to make your life come to good? Be smart about this now.